welcome back. We have been discussing the role of artificial intelligence vis-a-vis with its impact on philosophy of mind. We have been mentioning the debate that has been going on with the Chinese room argument, the Turing test machine, and so on. And we had just about started with the contemporary philosophers of mind who have had a take on strong AI. So later with cognitive models like connectionism and deep learning, new works began challenging the initial critiques. Figures like Paul Churchland advocated for neural network approaches, arguing that these systems better mimic brain functions than symbolic AI, a view gaining traction in the philosophy of mind and cognitive science. One of the pros of these approaches is their impact on real-world applications. AI systems in fields like image recognition and language processing have benefited from understanding cognition through neural networks, offering insights into both human and machine learning capabilities. However, the philosophical critique remains. Many argue that even complex AI lacks genuine understanding or consciousness, as it replicates functions without subjective experience or qualia. This has led modern philosophers like David Chalmers to explore the limits of AI in replicating human-like consciousness, often suggesting that while AI might simulate cognitive behaviors, it lacks true experiential qualities. The evolution of AI's role in cognitive understanding has thus intertwined with philosophy of mind and cognitive science, revealing both technological progress and persistent philosophical questions. The enduring debate underscores a fundamental question: can machines genuinely think or merely act in ways that appear intelligent? The 21st century exploration of AI continues to draw from these foundational works, encouraging ongoing discourse on what defines human cognition and the extent to which it can be emulated. For a comprehensive understanding of the key philosophical works on the role of AI in understanding cognition, we are again revisiting Alan Turing's Computational Machinery and Intelligence. Published in 1950, Turing's paper posed the imitation game, now known as the Turing test, which proposed that if a machine could convincingly simulate human conversation to an observer, it could be considered intelligent. This work raised questions about intelligence as an observable behavior rather than an inner experience. Turing's focus on functional equivalence inspired functionalist perspectives, though it faced criticisms for focusing on humanness rather than genuine cognitive understanding. Then comes Searle's 1980 critique against strong AI by positing that machines manipulating symbols lack semantic understanding. This analogy illustrated that syntactic processing alone, such as that in computers, does not lead to understanding or consciousness. Searle's argument sparked debates about the limitations of AI, asserting that true cognition requires more than computational processes, a view that influenced anti-functionalist arguments and continues to resonate in discussions of AI's potential limits. We have Dreyfus, What Computers Cannot Do. Dreyfus, a critic of AI's capacity to model human cognition, argued that intelligence involves embodied intuitive knowledge, challenging AI's reliance on formal rule-based processing. His work influenced the field of embodied cognition, which argues that cognitive processes cannot be fully replicated without a bodily context, a perspective that deepens debates on, on the limitations of current AI models. Connectionism and neural network approaches. There have been various works by Paul Churchland and others in the 1980s and 1990s who had embraced connectionist models, suggesting that AI systems based on neural networks better approximate brain-like cognitive processing. These models, unlike symbolic AI, allow for distributed processing and pattern recognition and have led to advances in fields such as language processing and visual cognition. However, critics argue that despite their complexity, these models still lack subjective experience. David Chalmers on the hard problem of consciousness is pretty well known, where Chalmers introduced the hard problem of consciousness in the 1990s, differentiating between functions that AIs can emulate and the subjective conscious experiences that it cannot. This work underscores the gap between stimulating intelligent behavior and achieving genuine awareness, posing challenges to proponents of AI that claim consciousness might emerge for complex processing alone. These works have each advanced the philosophy of mind by interrogating what constitutes understanding and cognition, revealing a persistent divide between functional replication and genuine experiential cognition. Collectively, they underscore the technical achievements and ethical considerations in AI, grounding contemporary debates in both philosophical potential and the limitations of machines in replicating human cognitive experiences. Now, if we are to understand the role of AI and go by the timelines, we would see that over the decades, key works in philosophy of mind have deeply examined the role of AI in understanding cognition, evolving from early computational theories to present-day discussions about consciousness, embodied cognition, and neural networks. We have been discussing Alan Turing's computing machinery and intelligence. Let us talk about the contribution part now. Turing's paper proposed the Turing test, a behavioral approach to intelligence where if a machine could convincingly simulate human responses, it could be deemed intelligent. This work framed intelligence as functional and behavior-based, setting the foundation for future AI research. The pros are that the Turing test was revolutionary, encouraging scientists to develop AI capable of human-like interaction without needing to replicate human thought processes exactly. The cons: critics argue that the Turing test overlooks genuine understanding and subjective experience, focusing only on surface-level behaviors. This has led to debates on whether passing the Turing test signifies true intelligence or merely an imitation. John Searle's Minds, Brains and Programs contribution. Searle introduced the Chinese room argument, claiming that mere symbol manipulation cannot lead to true understanding. This argument suggests that AI lacks consciousness and cannot genuinely understand language despite its ability to mimic it. The pros are: Searle's work highlighted a critical distinction between syntax and semantics, deepening philosophical inquiry into the nature of understanding and consciousness. Cons: the argument has been criticized for its potential anthropocentric bias, as it assumes that human-like understanding is necessary for intelligence. Some argue that it dismisses AI's functional achievements in cognition. David Marr's vision, a computational investigation into the human representation and processing of visual information, 1982. The contribution has been Marr's work approached cognition as a computational problem and focused on understanding visual processing through hierarchical models. His three-level framework, computation, algorithm, and implementation, has become a foundation in cognitive science. The pros of Marr's work is that Marr's approach encouraged studying cognition through computational structures, promoting interdisciplinary research and bridging AI and neuroscience. Cons are that Marr's model is primarily functional and does not address the subjective experience or consciousness, thus falling short for those interested in the phenomenological aspects of cognition. We will also be discussing Daniel Dennett's Consciousness Explained, that was published in 1999. Contribution. Dennett argued that consciousness is an emergent property of complex, layered information processes rather than an intrinsic, indivisible essence. This work promotes a multiple drafts model where consciousness is distributed and computational, aligning with certain AI architectures. The pros are that Dennett's ideas support functionalist views of the mind, which align with many modern AI architectures and avoid the need for a mysterious quality of consciousness. Cons are that critics argue that Dennett's reductionist view overlooks the hard problem of consciousness, the subjective qualitative experience which remains unexplained by computational models. We also have Andy Clark and David Chalmers' The Extended Mind, published in 1998. The contribution has been that in this paper, it had introduced the idea that cognitive processes can extend beyond the brain, involving external devices like notebooks, computers. It has implications for AI, suggesting that tools and technology are integral to cognitive systems. Pros are that this work broadened the understanding of cognition, making room for hybrid human-machine systems, which has influenced AI's development as assistive technology. Cons are that critics of the extended mind theory argue that cognition should be limited to biological processes, as this model challenges traditional boundaries of the self. Chalmers' work, The Conscious Mind in Search of a Fundamental Theory, published in 1996, the contribution has been that Chalmers introduced the hard problem of consciousness, differentiating between physical brain processes and subjective experiences. He suggested that consciousness might be a fundamental aspect of the universe, independent of physical processes. Pro is that Chalmers' distinction has influenced AI research by emphasizing that computational power alone may not lead to consciousness, pushing for a deeper investigation into the nature of subjective experience. Cons is that some argue that Chalmers' ideas are overtly speculative and hinder AI's development by focusing on untestable hypotheses rather than practical advancements in machine intelligence. We also have recent works on embodied and inactive cognition. Works by philosophers like Francisco Varela, Evan Thompson, and Alva Noe emphasize that cognition arises through embodied interaction with the environment, arguing against purely computational models. This view suggests that intelligence and understanding are grounded in physical sensory interactions rather than abstract computation. Pros: embodied cognition introduces new perspectives on AI development, inspiring robotics and adaptive AI that learn through environmental interactions. Cons is that critics argue the embodied cognition limits AI's scope, suggesting that machine intelligence might be possible without physical embodiment. Additionally, it challenges traditional computational approaches which remain prevalent in AI research. These foundational works have shaped the trajectory of AI and philosophy of mind by expanding our understanding of cognition, intelligence, and consciousness. The field has evolved from a purely computational view to a more nuanced models that incorporate embodiment, subjective experience, and functionalism, broadening the scope of what AI might achieve while also highlighting its current limitations. Now, we will also be looking up into the role of AI in understanding cognition from the Oriental traditions. The role of AI in understanding cognition through an Oriental or Eastern philosophical lens brings unique insights rooted in traditions like Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, and Confucianism. Unlike Western philosophies, which often prioritize materialism, computation, and the mind-body distinction, Eastern philosophies tend to view consciousness, cognition, and intelligence as part of an interconnected, holistic reality. Here are some of the key ideas from these traditions and how they contribute to conversation on the AI and cognition. Buddhist perspective on cognition and consciousness, non-dualism. In Buddhism, consciousness is seen as an interconnected process rather than something bound to an individual mind. The Buddhist concept of no self or anatta challenges the Western notion of a self-contained permanent ego. Instead, cognition is seen as part of a continuous flow of experiences shaped by causes and conditions. Implications for AI. From this perspective, an AI might not need a self to exhibit intelligence. A machine could be seen as a part of interconnected system of information flow with its awareness arising from its interactions rather than from an intrinsic consciousness. This concept supports decentralized models of intelligence where the system's responses emerge from the entire network rather than from a central self. Buddhist ideas can lead to a broader understanding of distributed and relational intelligence. However, applying non-dualistic ideas to AI raises questions about whether machines can truly grasp subjective experience, which remains a focus in traditional AI ethics. Now, if we look about or talk about the Advaita Vedanta and the concept of consciousness, we come across the universal consciousness. Advaita Vedanta philosophy emphasizes the oneness of all consciousness, viewing individual awareness as expressions of a single, unified consciousness, Brahman. According to this view, consciousness is a manifestation of this universal consciousness. The implications of AI. If consciousness is universal, then all forms of intelligence, including that of machines, might be seen as expressions of this larger consciousness. This could suggest that AI could eventually participate in genuine understanding if it connects to or reflects aspect of this universal awareness. This approach challenges the materialistic view that intelligence and cognitions are only products of physical processes. However, defining how or if AI can access the universal consciousness remains speculative within technological frameworks. If we are to talk about the Taoist philosophy and spontaneous intelligence, the Wu Wei and spontaneity, we see that in Taoism emphasizes on Wu Wei or effortless action, which aligns with ideas of adaptive, context-sensitive intelligence that unfolds naturally in response to the environment. This approach reflects a form of cognition that is not rigid or rule-based but fluid, emerging from harmonious interactions with the world. Implication is that the Taoist idea suggests that AI might achieve greater adaptability and intuitive problem-solving abilities by focusing on context-based responses rather than strictly programmed rules. In this sense, AI might develop intelligence by attuning the environmental feedback rather than predefined algorithms. Taoist-inspired AI could lead to systems with better real-world adaptability. However, translating Taoist spontaneity into computational frameworks is challenging as current AI models often rely on structured data rather than fully dynamic environmental immersions. If we also talk about Confucius from the Chinese perspective and on relational intelligence and ethics, we have this notion of relational self. Confucianism emphasizes the importance of relational identity, where individuals are defined by their social roles and relationships. This view could inform an AI's relational intelligence, allowing it to learn and act based on social and contextual cues. So the implications would be that an AI's systems influenced by Confucian thought might prioritize ethical interactions and contextual awareness, making it more adept at understanding and respecting human relationships. Such AI could be designed to serve social roles like caregiving with ethical sensitivity. Confucian-inspired AI aligns well with AI research, especially in human-AI interactions. However, AI systems currently lack the deeper contextual awareness and ethical reasoning required for Confucian relational understanding, posing challenges to implementation. So, what do we see so far is that the Eastern philosophical perspectives introduce holistic, relational, and adaptive elements to the study of AI and cognition. They expand the concept of intelligence beyond computation, suggesting a model of cognition as something that emerges from interactions and relationships. While translating these ideas into AI framework is challenging, they encourage new paths in adaptive, context-sensitive, and ethically aware AI systems. These approaches further offer a valuable counterpoint to Western computational models, promoting discussions on whether AI could participate in cognition without replicating human consciousness in the traditional sense. Eastern perspectives provide a framework for understanding intelligence as an evolving, networked phenomenon, pushing the boundaries of what AI might be capable of achieving. For those interested to delve further, can concentrate on the following literature review. Here is a literature review and citation of key sources and works discussed so far, reflecting how Eastern traditions can contribute to AI's role in understanding cognition. The Buddhist perspectives on cognition and consciousness, Buddhist teachings on non-duality or no-self anatta, and interconnectedness are widely discussed in foundational texts like the Tripitaka or the Buddhist canon, especially the Abhidhamma, which delves into consciousness as an interconnected phenomenon. Key modern interpreters include Thich Nhat Hanh, The Heart of Buddhist Teaching, and the Dalai Lama, The Universe in Single Atom. Scholars such as Francis Varelli and even Thompson from the contemporaries have breached Buddhism and cognitive science. Varelli's The Embodied Mind introduces Buddhist concepts to cognitive science, exploring how consciousness might arise from interdependent processes rather than an independent self. Works like Evan Thompson's Mind in Life, Biology, Phenomenology, and the Sciences of Mind explore Buddhism's implication for cognition and AI, emphasizing interconnected, relational views of consciousness. Now, if we talk about the Hindu Advaita Vedanta and the concept of universal consciousness sources, the primary sources, one can look up to the Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita as core texts discussing Brahman, universal consciousness, and Atman, individual soul, with scholars like Adi Shankaracharya expounding on Advaita Vedanta, non-dualism, in his commentaries. Swami Vivekananda's writings also popularized these ideas globally. So Bina Gupta's The Disinterested Witness and Eliot Deutsch's Advaita Vedanta, philosophical reconstructions, interpret Advaita Vedanta concepts and explore consciousness beyond the individual, applying them to modern science and technology. Patrick Grimm's philosophy of mind also explores Hindu philosophy's potential influence on discussing about AI and consciousness, noting how universal consciousness challenges individual-centered models of cognition. If we are to talk about the primary sources of the Taoist philosophy, classic texts like Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu and Zhong Zi offer concepts such as Wu Wei or effortless action and describe intelligence as a natural, responsive processes in harmony with the world. This approach supports adaptive, environment-based models of cognition. If we are to talk about the primary sources of the Taoist philosophy and spontaneous intelligence, we can pick up from Roger T. Ames and David Hall's Thinking Through Confucius and Thinking from the Han explore the impact of Wu Wei and Taoist spontaneity on relational models of cognition. From the literature of AI, scholars have increasingly referenced Taoist philosophy in adaptive robotics, like in Matthew E. Gladden's Sapient Circuits and Digitalized Flash, which discusses Taoism's influence on real-time spontaneous AI systems. Finally, if we are to talk about the primary sources from the Confucian views on relational intelligence and ethics, texts like the Analects by Confucius and Mencius offer insights into relational ethics and self-definition based on social rules. These ideas provide a foundation for understanding relational and ethical aspects of AI. Henry Rosemounds Jr.'s Reader's Companion to the Confucian Analects explore relational intelligence as a key concept in Confucianism applicable to social AI system. Philip J. Ivanhoe's Confucian Moral Self Cultivation addresses the potential for Confucian relational ethics to shape AI ethics. For practical applications, works like AI Ethics, a textbook by Mark Kochberg, engage with Confucian thought to develop frameworks on ethical AI. So these sources collectively outline how Eastern philosophical traditions have gradually informed and expanded implicitly, if not explicitly, the discussions on AI and cognition, promoting alternative perspectives that challenge conventional computational models. Thank you so much.